2, 1. Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm Colby Dezelick.
And I'm Kevin Corkum.
And you are listening to our brand new podcast. This is episode 2 pot of dough of the podcast. And we're excited to keep sharing more with you. What are we talking about today, Kevin? Uh-oh.
Today we're talking about college and how we chose Rider University, how we met, and some of our experiences either finding a college, doing shows, having fun, all the college things.
All the college things. To give you a little backstory on what's going on, we are now actors living in New York City, and we both went to school together. We were roommates all 4 years, and we went to Rider University, which still is in New Jersey. It was not blown up by a meteorite or anything like that.
There.
I hope it's still there. Last time we checked, it's still there, and we got a BFA in musical theater, which means that it's a Bachelor of Fine Arts, which is just kind of a very specific type of degree. Other people get BAs, right?
Yep,
BAs,
BA,
which is a Bachelor of Arts instead of Fine Arts. Bachelor of Arts is usually like when you major in just like theater, and so it covers a much wider array of like theater studies and things like that. But for us, musical theater, which is a very specific kind of set of skills, it's a Bachelor of Fine Arts that we got at Rider University. This is like a promo for Rider University. I'll just say Rider University every time. But yeah, we had a great time, and we're excited to talk about our how we auditioned, what that process was like, moving from lowly high school seniors into the big bad world of college, and then how college prepared us for where we are now.
Yeah.
And hopefully it prepared us.
I remember very distinctly deciding that I wanted to do musical theater. It was in high school, and my parents, who are fantastic, they took it upon themselves, along with me, and we searched for the best way to audition for colleges and figure out what it meant, because it really is kind of a daunting process. You don't know exactly how to go through it. And we found Mariana Austin Denard, also known as Moo.
Crew.
She is the college audition coach. That is what she does, and she's fantastic at it. A lovely, lovely woman, so organized, so great. She kind of gave me material and got me in contact with people that could also give me material that maybe she couldn't give, songs, things like that. And then she set up actually what we called Moonifieds, which was a bunch of colleges actually came down to Dallas to audition just her students. And that is where I auditioned for Rider.
Rider University.
Excuse me, I'll never forget it. I walked into the room with Robin and Marianne. We had done a dance master class like the night before or something, and Robin taught a Fosse combination, which was so fun. It was Beat Me Daddy,
Eight to the Bar.
And that's what he taught. And at that point, I could dance, but not really. And oh man, it was so great. And I came in the next day and I sang for them, and I danced again. I think probably. As you do in college auditions, very strange. You dance a solo or something. So I did that, and I knew before I left that weekend that I was accepted to Rider. They were the first school who reached out to me saying that they wanted me to be a part of their program, and that was really exciting. And I thought that it was a really good sign as well. That someone wanted me to be part of the program and really thought I was a good fit. So from there, I visited. And I saw the producers. They were doing the producers, and Robin directed and choreographed that. And
the musical, The Producers.
The musical, The Producers.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic, like start to finish. It was so great. And that sold me on the school. I was done at that point. I had other offers and other schools that I was interested in, and I visited, but it just something clicked. Yeah. And it felt right.
Oh, absolutely. And I think what you said about the fact that you got there and they wanted you there. You were a valuable asset to them, you know, which I think is a huge part. And I'm sure we'll talk a lot about more when we actually get into choosing. But I'll give a little bit of my backstory first. I was kind of almost the flip side of that, where I didn't do any unifieds. I didn't have a coach or anything like that. It was just me and my mother's paper spreadsheet, not like a computer spreadsheet.
Spreadsheets
on a piece of paper though, with like lines, with a ruler was written out. Nice. And I auditioned for too many schools, but I went to each one of them, which I think was really, really important me. And even if you do something like Unifieds, which is a great opportunity to like knock out a bunch of schools, if you don't have the time to like go to all of them, once you start considering a school that you might want to go visit it. I think that's the best piece of advice. Being there on campus and seeing people and seeing facilities and everything like that, and just kind of sensing the atmosphere is one of the best ways, I think, to be able to get a gauge for whether you fit in a program or not.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I went through all the callbacks and stuff at Texas State as well, which is actually where my brother goes to school now. And, you had to come to Texas State to finish your auditions.
Yeah.
It was very important for them because, you meet all of the other students that are there as well, so you kind of get this great vibe for the kind of students that they accept and the type of people that are there. And, Texas State is another really great program. And I felt really great when I went there. I was like, I could fit in here too. And then I went to Rider as well. I was, I could really fit here. And there were other schools where I went to the campus and I was like, I don't see myself here.
Yeah.
This isn't me. I don't think I could live here, do this in the dorms.
Yeah.
And you get a feel very quick. That's what I always tell people who are auditioning is once you get on campus, you'll know.
Yeah, you'll know.
You'll get a feeling. You'll either get a feeling of, I don't know if this is, I like this, but I really don't like this, and I don't like that. And you'll very quickly understand that the negatives start outweighing the positives, and you know that it's not the right place.
And it's just different for everyone, too. And, like, you should obviously look at the program and everything like that. But at the end of the day, a lot of the programs are going to do kind of the same thing. And it's really just about what you put into it and your mentality while you're there and about how you can grow, right? So the most important thing is that you feel comfortable there, right?
Yes.
So if you are looking at a small school, but you just need like a big campus where you can like go places, or like you need to be in a big town, the small school is not where you're going to do your best work, because you're not going to feel most fulfilled just as a human being, right? And vice versa. Like for me personally, Rider's a very small school. And so I went and visited a lot of these much bigger schools, and I felt like I was lost in the crowd, and not even just like people wise, but just campus. There was just so much there, and there were like ones in big cities as well. And so when I got to Rider, it was very cozy and intimate almost.
It is.
It's
very homey. You feel very at home at Rider.
And that was just particularly our experiences, but if someone's out there auditioning and you're at a big school, you might step there and feel right at home.
Well, originally I really wanted to go to a big school.
Sure.
I had my sights set on FSU. I loved the campus. I loved everything. I had a lot of friends that went there, and I really wanted that big university feel. I wanted the football team. I wanted my Saturdays to be spent tailgating and everything else at a big university.
Sure.
And the small campus of Rider was always something. It is the biggest pro and the biggest con all at the same time.
Without a
doubt. And I have a feeling that it's probably a double-edged sword, and that the fact that if you go to a big school, it's also the biggest pro.
It's the same thing,
and, it just comes down to what you end up wanting to
out of
sacrifice.
4 years, yeah. And it's not, and it seems like a very big decision, and it is, but at the end of the day, you got to remember it's essentially where you're just going to live for 4 years, right? And because 4 years seems like a lot when you're young, but I mean it flies by, and 4 years is nothing. So just pick something and experiment, and that's the whole point. It's about experimenting and trying different things.
And when you're a musical theater major, you don't have time to go do all that stuff. Most of the time, you're in rehearsals and everything else.
Busy.
I mean, we'll talk about some of our experiences and shows and things like that a little later on, in this podcast. But we had so many amazing opportunities, and because of it, we were kept extremely busy.
Yeah. So if you're looking at a school and you're like, oh well, I just want the option to maybe do that might be nice. Don't let that outweigh it, because if you're going hard in musical theater, unless you are specifically making time for some sort of extracurricular thing or some intramural or sports or whatever, it's just not going to happen unless you're very proactive about it. Just because, it's 4 years of being very busy. Yeah, if you're doing it.
I mean, my brother plays intramural soccer, and they play at 11 o'clock at night, because that's when
only time.
That's the only time they can get together and schedule games. That's insane. Yeah. And for Brian, I mean, he's a night owl. He 11 o'clock is it's his 7 p.m.
Yeah.
But, you know, for someone like me, I was in bed.
Yeah.
You know, I was trying to go to bed as early as I could.
Up at 8 a.m. for class.
Yeah. I need my sleep. I get grumpy.
Yeah, I'm there with you. Great. So the college audition process is crazy, and honestly, I think one of the most stressful audition processes ever.
Yeah.
Processes. But it's just I've never gone to an audition in the city that has been quite as stressful as a college audition, and I think it's just because there's a lot. It's an audition for 4 years, and it can be very overwhelming. And yes, we're saying it's very stressful, but at the same time, the advice to always give people auditioning is to just be yourself, be who you are. Because at the end of the day, you have to remember that yes, they are auditioning you, but you are also auditioning them, right? They are trying to build a program, so they are auditioning you because they want to find the best people that they can for their program. And bring them there. But at the same time, you are auditioning all of these colleges, and that's why I think it's so important to actually go to all of these different places so you can really get a vibe for them. But you're auditioning them. You go to each place and you go, I liked this, I didn't like this, because the experience you have at your audition is very telling of what your experience would be like at the university as a student. You know, if you didn't have the best time at your audition and it felt like a little intimidating or this or that, or they weren't very nice or this or that, that should tell you a lot about.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if they're the best school in the world. If you went into that audition room and you didn't feel like you were vibing with the people behind the desk,
that's gonna be a long 4 years.
It's gonna be a bad. Yeah,
I mean, again, there are wrong first impressions, but I think a fairly solid rule to go off of is based off your auditions, and that's why I'm a big proponent of. And even not just your audition, but if you go and visit the school, you know, see what it's like.
Yeah, it's
the people and the professors too is huge.
It's unbelievably important. Try and sit in on a couple classes. You
Yes.
know, that's huge too. I did that when I went to Rider. They were like, "Hey, go sit on a dance class. Go sit in on a scene study class." And I got to sit there and watch the students work, and more importantly, watch the professors work.
Work with them. Yeah.
It made such a big difference to me to be able to see it in action and know the kind of education I was going to get. And they're not going to be pretending like their classes are anything else just because they have a prospective student in the room. Everybody comes in and they do the same job they do every day. They do a good job. You know what I mean?
There might be the air, like I know when we were there and we had a dance class and there were prospective students, we were like, oh, damn it. Yeah, we gotta actually do everything really good today. Because we don't want to look like chumps. But yeah, for the most part, if you go to a school like Rider was a very grounded school. I felt like everyone there was very grounded.
And it was a new program too, which was
very new. Yeah, we should talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, because we came into a class and originally we were getting a BM in musical theater, which is a Bachelor of Music.
Not even in musical theater; it was just a BM. It was a Bachelor of Music because Rider is connected to, or was connected to. Maybe it's the source subject. I don't know.
I don't know.
We aren't there now, but when we were there, they were connected to the Westminster Choir College, which was very reputable. And honestly, how I found out about Rider, my voice teacher told me about it. They were like, "Oh, you'd get a really good voice education there." True. And so our entire class went in with knowing that the BFA was on its way, but signing up for a Bachelor of Music. So I took so many extra music theory classes that I did not need. But I liked music theory, but it was just it was kind of a scheduling thing, but that's not the norm. But it was very interesting for us to be the kind of guinea pigs, and
we put a lot of trust in the professors and the faculty, and they put a lot of trust in us.
Yeah, and
because of that, our relationships with them were fantastic.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of goes back to what you were saying in the beginning, Kevin, of going somewhere where they really want you. And that's what I felt when I went to Rider. You know, I went and auditioned at a lot of really, really great schools and was very fortunate to get in and have my pick. But at the end of the day, I didn't get what I needed from those other schools, and what I got from Rider was a sense of, it sounds so cheesy and cliche, but like being home,
right.
and people that actually cared about me and were invested in me. And on the flip side of that, it was kind of worked the same way. Like then I got really invested in Rider too. Like I was a fan of Rider, just because I was excited to see what they were going to do with the program, how I could be of service to it as well. And I've loved that ever since, that I always felt like our class, we were pioneers, ready to like start the new
No, we were.
adventure.
And
it was fun.
One of my favorite stories is Robin. He's the dance director and pretty much the second head of the musical theater program. Him and Marianne kind of are the two faces of it. They're fantastic. But he messaged me on Facebook and he said, "Hey, you should room with Colby Dezelick." And he just a random Facebook message. I got
the exact same message.
And so I immediately, looked up Colby's Facebook and I was like, "Oh, well, he seems fun, I guess." So that's, They were looking out for us so much so that they thought that we would be a good roommate pair. I mean, just things like that. They were right. But things like that other universities, I'm not sure exactly.
That would never have happened.
Would have
maybe it's some other, but like for some of the big ones.
I don't feel like it's common. But it's the little things like that end up making a huge difference.
Yeah, I agree. So let's talk about that. What do you want to talk about? Orientation?
Yeah, we should talk about
just like our first day, maybe.
A little of both. So when I
take it away,
orientation was really weird. They have everybody from the universities that's a freshman. Shows up. And you have to stand in these really long lines. And as musical theater majors, we've already connected on Facebook, so we all.
There's already a Facebook group.
There was there was already the group.
Oh my god!
People were already talking.
Oh my god, that's so funny.
And we all kind of knew of each other. I knew several people from Moo Crew, so I knew Molly, I knew Lily, I knew Matt Fairley. I'm probably forgetting people. Forgive me if you're listening to this and I forget you. I don't forget you. Because we all auditioned for these schools together, and we all kind of went to this thing, and so we showed up, and I knew everybody, and I don't remember what we were waiting in line for, but
I don't know.
Probably to get name tags, honestly.
Probably, or as merch or swag or whatever. I remember walking into the BLC, the Bart Ludicky Center, and just a mass of people there. And then out of the crowd turns Kevin Corkum. Hey! And I was like, oh, dear God. What is about to happen? And then from there, it took us where we are right now.
Yeah.
But met Kevin because I'm sure at that point we had said we'd connected.
Yes, I think we had. I think we probably messaged each other. We're both like the worst communicators when it comes to things like
really
this.
bad.
Like, no one is worse than us.
I think we were trying really hard.
I think we were too. I mean,
exclamation marks after every
we had to sentence. Because when you go to college, like it's a scary thing. You're literally leaving behind everything that you know and starting fresh.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
So, to have someone in your corner is great.
Yeah.
And
so we messaged, and then because Kevin had done Moo Crew, I met Molly and Nicole.
Yes.
Yeah, Nicole did it.
Nicole
right?
did it as well.
And, and Lily and all those people. It was crazy. We did orientation, and it was so funny because it was like you were allowed to stay over. I don't think any of us did.
No, I went home.
I think I'm starting to think about the first couple days.
Yeah, they do blend. They do blend together because freshmen come a little early to do like a welcome to campus
Bronx
type
move-in.
thing.
Yeah. So we as freshmen, we got there early. This is what I'm thinking of. Is we got there several days early. So we were there like a week before classes even started, just like prancing around campus. But we just got there, and Kevin and I were already like really excited because we were close already by that point. And then just our other group of friends, Nick Cox,
great guy,
and Eddie and all those people, and we just had the time. I remember that week being the time of our lives. We had so much fun running around campus, doing diddly squat.
But it was really. I mean, it was fucking great because those first few days really defined friendships. As strange as it is to say. We made bonds and memories in that first week that have lasted us forever. If we were to bring up, inside jokes that happened, everybody would remember them.
What was the
talking about when someone? So we were all sitting around watching the movie, and all of a sudden, just this foul smell came over the room, and it really smelled like someone shit their pants.
It did.
So we called it the
Really
demon
bad.
turd.
The demon. That's what it was.
And we later found out who it was. We know it was you. I'm not gonna embarrass you on this podcast.
Me?
No, it wasn't you. It was. It was
someone else.
Yeah.
I don't even remember.
I remember. I'll never forget. I'll never
We'll talk
forget.
about
it was
it
so
after.
bad.
Yeah, no, it was so
But
fun.
Stupid
But
memories
like
that.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of hold with you till.
I'm trying to think of the takeaway piece of advice to give to people off of that.
You need to get out of your comfort zone because it's not exactly the most comfortable thing to sit in a room with a bunch of strangers who you barely know and start
been sitting at home all summer by yourself, and then all of a sudden
just worrying about college.
Yeah,
the people who
don't,
the people who kind of stayed in and don't go out, and I mean, you know, Colby's not really the most.
I am an introverted person.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm a little bit more extroverted, so it's a little easier for me. But I mean, even for Colby, like he stepped out of his comfort zone and really tried to make those connections and make those friends. Yeah. And I mean, sets you up for success.
It does. That's the perfect way of saying setting you up for success, because and try and get there early and make those friends as quickly as possible, because the land grab is so big when you first get there to like just find a group of friends, because once everyone's in the motion of things, you're gonna find, even if they're not the right friends, you know, like you'll find out very quickly, and then you'll have some experience, and then you can find other people, you know, and easily move your way.
You'll start to need people as well. Yeah. You know, you'll need to start leaning on people, especially your freshman year. There's a lot of stuff that you have to deal with that you're not used to, and you need that friend group to lean on. You need that person to be like, oh, dude, I had the worst day, or, you know, whatever it might be, you know, failed this test, or.
And I think the most comforting thing about going to college and having to put yourself out there and make new friends that I was thinking about, I was like, well, you know what? Everyone else is doing the exact same thing. Everyone else is completely out of their comfort zone, has no idea what's happening, and doesn't have any friends already anyway. So, like, there's no point in me trying to hold myself back, thinking that everyone else is already friends and everything like that. I was like, well, someone's got to be friends with someone, you know?
Right.
So might as well throw your hat into the ring, or whatever cliche term you would use.
This kind of is going to lead us into our next topic, which was different shows and experiences that we had through. Let's
walk through.
We were both lucky enough. We were cast in a show our first semester.
You're talking about Cole?
Cole. Yeah. We did Cole, which was a Cole Porter musical review, and man, it was fun.
It was great. Yeah, that was our first show. Yeah. I guess the first one we were able to because the Crucible
was the first show.
Was the first show that a freshman could even be in. Molly was in that one. But Cole was the first, I guess, musical slot that freshmen could be in, and so Kevin and I were in that, and a couple of
we got launched into it.
Well, yeah, very launched into it, and the fearless Lewis Goldberg was the director. And
amazing.
It was fantastic. It was so fun.
And the thing that I'm thinking about as you were talking was, it was a blast. It was a great experience, and it was a lot. Yep. Like for me especially, I got really sick. I got run down. It's hard to prioritize that freshman year. And a lot of programs will say that freshmen cannot audition their first semester, which can be great because you are still adjusting. You're doing your laundry.
A lot going on.
You're doing, your food, everything. You kind of start doing everything on your own, and you have to start taking care of yourself because mommy and daddy aren't there to say, are you brushing your teeth at night? Are you wearing your retainer? All those things that, you know what I mean, that like parents say. Yeah. You are that boss.
You have to do that.
And it starts, it's very mentally taxing.
Yeah.
And, it's a tough semester for just about everybody. The thing that Cole did that actually propelled and helped me was it forced me to have to do those things on a timely schedule. Yeah. I had to schedule when I was doing laundry. I had to schedule when I was doing this because I had rehearsals and I had class and there was only 2 hours that I could get my stuff done.
You learn a lot about time management just because you get there and you realize you're like, oh my God, like I could do absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Or I could, once you throw yourself into the fire and you have stuff going on constantly, you're like, things have to get done because otherwise I have zero underwear. I literally cannot go to class if I don't wake up, if I don't go to bed at this time. There's so many things that you've always known because your parents have always told you, but you really start to understand them when you're by yourself and
ownership. It's ownership.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. You have to start owning everything.
Absolutely.
And then there's another step when you graduate college. You have to start earning other things. But that's a whole different topic. You know, when you first get to school, you take ownership of a lot of things. Maybe not financially, maybe not all these other things which come later, but it's all of the little things that you learn when you're in college.
Yeah, just learning to live by yourself, to be able to take care of yourself, living by yourself, you know, for the most part, you know, just being able to like get up at the correct time and go here and do this and have clothes and make your bed and clean your room.
And sometimes it makes it easier when you are in a show because you have a really set schedule.
Have a very strict schedule.
So, you know, scheduling in college is crazy, right? You wake up at 8 o'clock probably for your first class, whether it's ballet or piano
let's do a day in the life
or whatever, right? So normally I had a lot of 8 a.m. classes. I tried not to. I was terrible at waking up. I had a piano class that was downstairs in the building that I slept in, and I showed up. It was an 8 o'clock class. I showed up at 8:30 every single day, half an hour late. It was me and Nick, and we would wake up. We'd wake up at 8. Class started at 8. We'd wake up at 8. We'd see each other. We'd brush our teeth in the community bathroom. And I'd be like, hey, you going to class today? Because, you know, it wasn't a given that we were going to be going to class, even though we were up at 8 a.m. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to go. He's like, but first I'm going to eat breakfast. Like, yeah, me too. So we'd go and we'd sit on the couch in the common room and we'd eat breakfast. And then he'd show up. And just so it looked like we didn't plan it, we'd show up like 5 minutes apart. And we were terrible. But, you know, you wake up at 8 o'clock for your first class. And then normally, sometimes you can go back to back. Generally, you have, I'd say, 2 to 3 classes a day, depending on your course load, right?
Yeah. Maybe more.
Because you have your Tuesday, Thursday classes.
If you have like a really busy day,
and
you
then
could have 4.
You could have 4, yeah. And then, you know, your class ends at 6. Rehearsal starts at 6:30. So if your last class is at 6, right, you go 4:30 to 6 o'clock.
If you've got like a regular director.
Right. You start at 6:30. So you have...
You run into dailies.
By the time you get out of class, it's 6:05. You got to walk across campus. You get to the place you have to eat at 6:15. That means you have 10 minutes to scarf food down and then get over to rehearsal, stretch, because
you have to be warm.
And then
rehearse until 11.
And rehearse until 11 and then do it all again.
And then go to bed and do it all again. And party on the weekends.
Of course.
I mean, the schedule is crazy. Yeah.
Because you start being you know, for lack of a better term, a slave to your schedule, and then your friends demand time.
Yeah.
Not just because they want to spend time with you, but you want to spend time with them. It's this very strange type of demand, right? Where it's like, you know what, it's Saturday night. Sure, I just got out of rehearsal. I just had a 10-hour rehearsal today, but there's a party going on down the street, and I mean, it's 11:30. I'm exhausted. I'm losing my voice, but like everybody wants me to go. So, you know, I'm probably going to show up for a little bit, and then before you know it, it's 4 hours later, and you're strolling into your apartment at 3 a.m.
Yep.
Which are the great college memories.
Yeah.
They sound like we're talking about it like it's a bad thing, but
we're like, oh my God, I had to party all night.
Yeah.
It was terrible.
Yeah, you see all of your best friends every day, and you go to a really fun party where everyone's hanging out. Oh, it sucks to be me.
It's terrible. But yeah, the schedule is huge, and obviously as you progress through college and you get closer to senior year, you have a lot more control over your schedule.
Yeah.
And hopefully, if you've spaced it out correctly, have fewer classes. I know, like our last semester there, I think had like 3 or 4 classes.
I was done at 2 o'clock every day.
I didn't have to wake up till about 1 if I had, like, at the latest every day.
Amazing.
It was incredible.
Yeah.
But certainly those first couple semesters, like, and you're going to be in all the classes you don't want to take too.
Yes.
Like, you have to, because there are going to be certain requirements. You know, you're going to have to take a certain number of dance classes and music classes and acting classes, and your professors, rightfully so, are going to push for you to do all of the.
They're going to want you to take your full
don't
21 credits or whatever it is that
They're
you can.
Full load, all the classes you don't want to take. Just get them out of the way. And it's good because by the end, like, but when we were in that last semester senior year and we had fewer classes that we needed to be at, it was really helpful because when we started to do showcase and when we started auditioning in the city, you know, I was able to, you know, like, not have to go to class or be able to, like, go to my class real quick and then head to the city because, well, so Ryder is in New Jersey. Still is. I don't know where this meteorite is coming from. Still is. It's still in the city.
It's dead to you.
Or it's still in New Jersey. And so we were able to kind of go in and out of the city, which was really, really great. An incredible experience.
Invaluable. Oh, my God.
To be able to get in and out of the city and just kind of, like, acclimate yourself slightly and be able to, like, meet with agents and then meet with or just go to auditions.
Go to
and
auditions,
everything like
period.
that. And even just like, period. Like on the weekends, if you were not in a show or anything like that, just
So
going
many
up to
people
the city.
go in, they go see shows, they go do this.
Oh yeah, take a dance class, whatever you need to do, and it's that was super helpful. Yeah, day in the life of scheduling, it's just kind of thrown to the wolves, but you'll figure it out. Everyone always does. Like it seems very overwhelming and daunting, and maybe the way we're talking about it seems like chaotic and crazy, and like that's also because we're two boys that handled it.
Right.
Like if someone else or someone more organized than us handled it, they would probably be far better off. They would be like, oh my god, I love this,
Yeah.
But it's really okay, and as overwhelming as it seems, you will get through it.
And it's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, your
you just
college
gotta
years,
throw your
everyone
hands
says,
up.
I wish I could go back to college. It's true.
It's so true.
It's true.
It's true. That's another. We talked about this in the last podcast. Like the older we get, the more cliches that become true. Like be yourself and stuff like that.
The most like the basic things that you learn.
And when people are like, oh, the golden years or the college, the best years of your life. Honestly, it's probably true. Yeah. Those were some great. I mean, we've only been out for a year or two, but compared to the years we're living now, college is pretty awesome.
It is great. And you get so many amazing opportunities. I mean, we were able to do a ton of shows. We were very, very lucky.
Kevin, favorite show that you did at Rider?
Favorite show? I end up
Kevin
always
was in
going.
How many shows were you in while you were there? What was it? 10, 11?
Something like that.
It was 10 or 11 shows. We did 6 shows every year. 3 the first semester, 3 the second semester, and there were 3 musicals and 3 plays. Kevin was in
1 year. My sophomore year,
you did
I did the most shows that you could. I did 4 shows.
So because the way it's structured is like you can't do 2 shows that are back to back. So you have show A, B, and C in the first semester.
So you can do A
and
and
you can
C.
do A and C, right? And then in the second semester there's X, Y, and Z, right? And you can do X and Z, but you can't do X and Y.
Yeah.
But Kevin, that 1 year you did all 4. That was crazy.
Yeah, I was sick and run down a lot. I really was. I mean, it was a blast, and I got to learn so much amazing choreography and all this awesome stuff that I was just devouring at the time, but that I didn't know, because when you're in it, you don't really reflect on it, right? You're just, all you know is that you're doing it. But when you're in rehearsals and you're seeing all of your fellow classmates and everybody just tackle this really amazing material, because that year we did Full Monty, a chorus line, and then I did Our Town, and then the last show was Merrily We Roll Along. So
merrily we roll along, something to do, something
with dreams. So we did chorus line.
Crazy.
And when you ask my favorite show, it's usually a toss-up between a chorus line and Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
Oh, at Rider. Yeah.
Both of those shows were great for different reasons. They were both so challenging, physically, mentally.
Seven Brides is so fun.
Seven
Brides was the other show we both did our
freshman year.
And it was just a lot of people don't know Seven Brides, I feel like, but it's just a heavy dance show. A lot of dance, a lot of partnering, stuff like that. And so they're Seven Brides for Seven Brothers. We literally 2
got
of
to
the
be
7 brothers.
Idiots on stage with our best friends.
Yeah, it was really
dancing
really fun.
And singing. I mean, it was so
really fun. Yeah, that was crazy. That was a lot of work. Chorus line was fun too.
Yeah. What was your favorite show?
I think I always go to All Shook Up, just because that show was so fun. I as well was very, very fortunate to have a lot of opportunities at Rider. But All Shook Up is one of those shows that was just so fun. It was rewarding in a way, just because we got to sing great music, so it was like artistically fulfilling,
right?
In that way, but it was just so fun and silly. All Shook Up, if you don't know, is the Elvis Presley jukebox musical, and it's based off of 12th Night. And this guy, this roustabout, rides into town and shakes things up and blah, 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 blah. You've all heard the story. Yeah, and I got to play Chad, and it was just so fun singing all that music. But a close second, or the other shows that are up there were, I also really loved Merrily. Everyone, half of Rider was in Merrily, and so that half, that a large percentage of people that were in Merrily had a very different experience than I did, because I got to play Frank, who's the lead, and so I had it's a Sondheim piece, it's like a flop, and so like we just had so much fun like playing with the material and everything like that. But there were a lot of people in Merrily, Kevin being one of them.
I played the photographer, and I also played the TV stagehand in the mutter, yes Jerome, mutter no Jerome, mutter.
That's
scene,
Jerome.
whatever scene that is. I mean, I had a couple like little transitional things, but
Yeah.
for the most part, it's a very long show. Personally, I think the show is terrible, but that's just my personal opinion. Take it or leave it.
Sure.
And it was a lot of rehearsal. It was a lot of time, and I was barely in it. So, the greatest part about Merrily, though, was that since half of Rider was in it, all of your friends were there.
Yeah.
Like you got to go to rehearsal.
And,
yeah, it was the people who were. This sounds bad to say, but the people who were not in it would miss the inside jokes that happened while we were sitting around
rehearsal.
for hours at Merrily rehearsal.
Yeah, and then the other show that I really loved was the last show I did was Spring Awakening, and that was really great because Molly and I got to do it. We were Melchior and Venla.
Yeah, and they were fantastic. The show was. I don't like that show much either, but it's definitely the best version of it that I've seen.
It was really fun. It was just like it was our senior year. We were leaving, and then me and Molly, and then Matt Fairley, who was also in an insane amount of shows.
Matt Fairley and me, I don't know if we tied or if he beat me by one.
I think Matt beat you by one. I think he did because he did Spring Awakening. I think that was like the last possible show.
I think so. If I had done Spring Awakening,
I think I
would have won. Yeah.
But it was just that was just a special moment. I remember the last show we did was just a sob fest.
Yeah.
Because it's all about like going home and leaving your friends. But it was just sob fest.
Yeah.
There's got to be a video of that somewhere. There I know there is. We've got to find it.
The best part about doing shows in college is the ability to play and the ability to create. Because when you get out of college, it's a little bit more hit your mark, sing the song, do the thing.
Yes.
It's a little bit less. What do you think your character's feeling, and like how are you fitting into the whole story and the arc, and that's there, but a lot of it, I think, is not as apparent or as vocalized.
Sure. Yeah, well, you're working with the people that are directing the shows in college are the people that are also teaching you acting and singing and dancing in your classes, which is why you're there at school, So they're very keen on being able to implement what you've been learning in class on your craft into the work, which is insane, So the opportunity to do a show at school is massive because you can learn so much. Yeah. And going off of what you were saying with how it's different from doing a show in the real world, in college, you get the opportunity to play a lot of roles that you would never play. I played Doc Gibbs in Our Town, who is the father of the young boy who I would probably play now, George Gibbs. And so I played Frank. I played a character named Frank 3 times in school. Did you ever realize? Yeah. We talked about that. It was Frank and Seven Brides, Frank in Our Town, and Frank in Merrily. Yeah. But I played Doc Gibbs, and unless I go to some random community theater that has no adults, like it's like a town of 0 adults, I maybe would play Doc Gibbs. But for the most part, I'm not going to play that role for another 30 years probably.
Well, yeah, and talking about applying what you're learning, that year we really had dove into the Alexander technique.
Yeah.
That was it was sophomore year, right?
Well, I started working with Meade earlier. Well, we had our first semester with her, and then the second semester freshman year, I took one of her Alexander classes.
That's right. So you were diving
I was deep into the movement
stuff, and
I love it.
And you were able to.
I was able to play a lot
everything.
with something like that, where I wasn't playing a young boy of my age, with someone like Doc Gibbs. I was able to. I had to like transform into like an old man, which was fun, and it gave me an outlet to be able to kind of implement all of the stuff we were learning and apply it, to to this show we were doing that we were going to do in front of people. And I mean, that's always obviously the best way to learn is to do it.
Right. And another, I mean, one of the other great things about Rider is that they encouraged us to audition for outside theater work during the summer, for summer stock, for whatever it was. It is so important to do that.
We should do a whole podcast on summer work.
We should. Because I think that it is one of the most valuable things that Rider taught me.
Absolutely.
Because
just setting up the connections and everything too.
Right.
I would have never known,
the connections are huge. I went to go do a show and my junior year, and I took everything that I learned at Rider and threw it into that show.
Great.
I really was like, you just get to dive in an amazing way.
It's so fresh. Yeah. Because it's so fresh.
That's the thing, is that it's right on your mind. Because you literally leave, the semester ends and your summer work generally starts right after.
If you're doing like a summer stock kind of thing. Without a doubt.
And you're there for 3 months. You get to meet amazing people and you get to work on your craft day in, day out. It's great.
Yeah. So Kevin, now that you are graduated from Rider, how do you feel? What do you feel was one of the most important lessons you learned, and that has aided you in life outside of college?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
I always say that Rider gives a very practical approach to musical theater. I always say that is Rider's biggest strength, apart from its location, is that
fair.
Throughout our entire experience there, they always stress to us that it is a business and it is something that it's work, right? It's amazing work, but it's work. So that you don't go out into the real world and think that everything is frou-frou and so artsy and you get to just dig into everything, because that's not how it is.
That's not.
I had a conversation, I remember very early on, with Marianne about a show, and there were some students that were struggling because the director was giving them a little bit less artistic freedom than they wanted. And Marianne was like, she's like, learn this early, that you basically end up being a chess piece. You get put where you need to go and you hit your marks and you do the steps, and that is your job, right? Your job is to service the show.
Yeah.
And I remember that to this day.
Yeah, I mean, so that's not to say that in the real world, in the theater community, that there aren't experiences where you get incredible artistic freedom and you get to create and build insane characters all on your own and blah, 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 right? And you get to do all that stuff. But that is so rare. The vast majority of work you're going to put yourself into, and I think we talked about this last time, the people that humble themselves, that allow themselves to take the work that they get. We were talking about like theme parks and stuff.
Right.
But for the most part, and even like when we were doing Saigon and things like that, there are just points where you just need to be told where to go, where to stand, when to be there, what to be holding, what prop,
and how to feel,
and how to feel. And it's just, and it's not because the director isn't any good, that they're not artsy, they don't know how to work with actors or anything like that. It's about ones and zeros. Yeah. They've got a show to put up. And the kind of higher up you go in the theater world, I don't want to say higher up, that sounds bad, but like the more money that is riding on a show is normally going to be a bigger production, right? And so the bigger productions have a lot more invested in you as an actor. So yes, we're going to give you some artistic freedom here and there, but for the most part, we need you to do this because we've got so many other variables that we're dealing with, and we need you to just do your part.
Right.
And I think Ryder, you're right, does a good job about showing you how to be an artist and how to hone your craft and everything like that, but also how to take what you've learned and do it yourself and be able to like work on a show from a standpoint of I'm here to service the show.
Yeah, and I know vocally, another thing that we learned is different terminology. Sometimes people who aren't singers or aren't this way, or music directors who don't necessarily sing but are fantastic music directors, sometimes they'll tell you to do something with your voice, right? I need it to sound a little bit more like this.
Yes.
They taught us so many different sides and so many different versions of of language, of musicality, of all these things that we can now. I feel confident that if a music director gives me a note on a song that I'm singing, I'm like, okay, they're saying this, but they mean this.
They mean this.
Like, this is what
want.
I need to do to fix this.
Yeah.
And also the Alexander technique, which I think is
that's again a whole other.
That's
podcast.
another podcast.
That's a whole season. But
those are the biggest things I think that I took
agree.
away. What about you?
I mean, yeah, I agree with everything you said. I also think just living by yourself in college for 4 years is an incredible, and I think for a lot of people, a very important experience to have for yourself as a human being. You know, to learn how to be by yourself. I mean, the amount I grew at Rider, not as an actor, but as just a person, is insane. And I wouldn't be able to do what I do as an actor now if I hadn't had the experiences I had as just a person, you know?
Yep.
And I think I'd mentioned earlier that Rider has a lot of really grounded people, and it has a really grounded sense. And I think that's something I really needed as a person. Yeah. You know, and so when I went there, it really worked for me. And so then meeting people like Kevin, who's also very grounded, and Molly, my girlfriend, and a lot of people that I encountered were people that I needed in my life, you know, that kind of helped shape me the way I am now, and made me a better person, which allowed me to be more confident in my work as an actor and everything like that. I'm sure this is a debate for a whole other podcast, but I know a lot of people are like, do I go to college? Do I not go to college? Things like that. And I mean, I think the short answer is it's different for everyone. Whatever you think, you know. My view is that if you have the time and the money to do it, I highly recommend it, just because whatever you study, even if you're listening to this podcast and you have no interest in pursuing musical theater, I don't know why you'd be listening to this podcast, but thanks for joining us. Yeah. But you know, even if you're just going to study music or this or that or anything like that, whatever you're going to study, having 4 years to just work on yourself is massive, because the second you get out of school, things are a lot different. And I mean, I can't imagine jumping from high school to the real world. I know a lot of people do it, and they're very successful, and those people are just crazy talented and probably have themselves together a lot more than I do. Right. But I'm sure there's also a really slow learning curve for those people, because they don't have the concentrated time that you get in college to be so freewheeling and so invested in yourself as a person, and not worried about, you know, rent and food and this and that, you know, and, you know, getting a job and things like that. That just are so many more factors that come into play in the real world that distract you from honing your craft, number one, and number two, figuring out who you are as a person, which is so important in the arts. It is. Yeah, I grew as a human being immensely from school. The person that I walked in being and the person who I walked out being are completely different humans. You know, obviously same core, but I learned so many things about myself. Yeah. And obviously, you know, you continue to learn about yourself all the way through life. But those 4 years are extremely, extremely important. Yeah, I agree. Thanks so much for listening to this podcast. We're excited. I think what we're going to try and do is form a full season of this first one. So the one we posted before, and now this one, podcast 2, is are going to be two of a full season, where we're going to talk a little bit more about our experiences, how we got into theater, and just kind of a getting to know you season. So this was our college one, and we're excited to share another aspect of our lives and who we are on our next podcast. Next time. We will see you there. Until then, make sure to, whatever platform you're watching or listening this on, give us a like, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications so you can always know when the next podcast is going up. And we'll see you there. We'll see you later.